put me on soy milk because he said there's some estrogen-like compounds in there.
The phytoestrogens,
Yeah, so I've been on soy milk for approximately 2-3 years now.
And the PSA is kind of hanging out where it's at.
Well, it climbed up to about 6.5 or something here, even while I was on it. Then just last month, it dropped down to 3, something over 3. So,
Yeah, it sounds like you're watching.
okay.
You hit on a real key concern for many people in the group, and that is, when should we be concerned after treatment or on active surveillance? At what point, when the PSA starts to climb, should we be concerned? Well, you just mentioned doubling time. Are there values to this? A lower doubling, a smaller number doubling is less important than a 7 doubling, for instance?
Oh, you mean as far as the Gleason goes, or just
No. As far as the PSA goes. We're after treatment or on active surveillance, either one. We're watching the PSA very carefully, and it starts to go up. At what time do we be concerned about the PSA going up? Is there a value? Is it the doubling time only? Is it?
Sure. On active surveillance, expect the PSA to jump around. Okay? It does what I call a sawtooth pattern. It's up and down, up and down. With a general trend of going up, because you're getting older, your prostate's getting bigger. So for those of you that are on active surveillance, you probably experienced that. One time it's 5, the next time it's 6.4, and then it's down to 5.9, then it jumps to 8, and then it comes down to 5.3 again. So again, that person hasn't been treated, so there's going to be some fluctuation. Why does it fluctuate? It's most likely not because of the cancer. It's just some days your prostate's more inflamed. Why is it more inflamed? I don't know. Why does sometimes you wake up and your shoulder's stiffer? It's inflamed, you know, it just happens to be the way you sat or something. So expect some of that. There are some data that when the PSA gets above 10 in those patients with lower risk disease, that may be have a higher risk of the cancer getting outside of the box more or less. So I think if you're on active surveillance above 10, which is kind of based on a couple of studies, we do watch for that. As far as the when you've been treated, it's often quite hard because let's say you had radiation therapy, you still have your prostate intact. It's in your body, and so it doesn't get totally killed off. The cancer has, but the normal prostate is still alive, and so you can have a little bit of PSA. And remember, they don't consider a recurrence until the PSA goes as low as it's going to go, and then you have to add 2 whole points to that. So if the PSA drops down to 0.5, you have a quote-unquote recurrence when it hits 2.5. And so you do have to allow a little bit of PSA floating around and accept that. And after prostatectomy, once if we're going to do radiation on top of it afterwards, we like to do that before the PSA gets much higher than 0.4, 0.5 to add the extra radiation on board. If you have more advanced prostate cancer, we worry with a doubling time less than 3 months. So less than 3 months is a bad prognostic sign. So.
Now you say we. Seattle Cancer Care Alliance? Nationwide? What is the we refer to? We decide.
We, the general clinician taking care of prostate cancer.
So that is standard of care. That's not just at Seattle Cancer Care Alliance.
There are plenty of data to support that a doubling time of less than 3 months in those with prostate cancer is associated with worse survival.
Okay.
But still, everybody is individual too, and so we have to take that into account. But I would say it's pretty well accepted that in advanced prostate cancer, a doubling time of less than 3 months is associated with a worse prognosis.
Thank you.
Well, it seems like once we get over 60, the PSA is only really effective when it comes to the doubling time syndrome, and not for preventive maintenance. You think you have that gene or DNA. Am I correct? In other words, it's not cheap for some of us to have the, twice a year PSA tests. So you said, yes, I agree. When we get older, we're going to have more information. I could have inflammation close to my prostate, and it still would be a ghost that's mimicking the syndrome. Am I correct? Or the dilemma? In other words, are you detecting inflammation in microbes from the prostate only, or is it from the general area or reproductive network? In other words, it winds up an inflamed family jewel. It's part of the box.
The PSA is almost exclusively made by the prostate, maybe a few other.
And it excludes the family jewels
Yes.
and reproductive.
Yes.
Okay.
There are potentially some glands along the urethra that may make a little bit of PSA, but they're very, very negligible.
Okay, thank you.
When I was diagnosed with prostate cancer, my PSA was 15. And compared this to my friend who was diagnosed with prostate cancer, and he had 4. So what would make that go all the way up to 15?
Yeah.
It actually went to 16 and started coming back down.
Did it start going down without treatment?
Yeah, without treatment.
Yeah. So you probably, I mean, if it wasn't from more cancer, you know, comparing two people, then it could be the most common cause of a big spike in the PSA is an inflammation infection going on in the prostate. So when someone comes to me and they've had like 5 or 6 years of PSAs and they've all been 1 or 2 and all of a sudden they're referred for a PSA of 16, I'm going to say, let's repeat in 6 weeks. Because it may very well come down on its own back. And I actually just had a guy call recently and that's exactly what happened.
So can exercise cause this to keep going up?
Yeah, well, I wouldn't think so, but if you were, say you were riding a bike on a super high trauma to it over and over again, that potentially could.
I work with glass, and it's heavy glass, and you're always moving it, and your body's always in constant movement, and to take
I
care
think
of the job.
anything's possible for sure. I wouldn't rule anything out, but I think that if you had an abrupt change, wait a little bit and repeat it. And
I
then
think
still,
it just gradually went up.
Yeah.
It didn't jump
yeah.
in percentage, but they checked me out of the biopsy and said within 1/2 of the prostate. And so then they pulled the lymph nodes on both sides away from it. Doesn't the lymph nodes eat cancer?
Yeah, so the lymph nodes are like rest stops on the freeway. And so they're places where there are all these chains that go back to your heart ultimately. And what the lymph cells do, the T cells, they try to grab junk or grab cancer or grab infection and take it to the rest stop so they can beat it up basically. So when you look at a lymph node, you see all these immune cells, and you may have infection in there or you can have cancer in there. So it's trying to control the cancer and heat it up. One of the first spots that many cancers go to is the lymph nodes. So.
Yeah, mine come out clear, so I'm happy.
That's where I think the importance of exercise finally comes in. I wish I would have realized that 12 years ago, but it seems like you're almost circulating more lymph liquids through the Route 66 syndrome to negate the potential of cancer trying to expand.
Might be.
So it's not just the blood flow bringing out the gorillas per se, as a metaphor and microscopic, it's also the lymph that we take for granted, because we really have a pretty elaborate Route 66 that I didn't even realize until after a year after surgery. That's all I had the surgery. Thank you.
Any way of expanding your data collection for this exercise program we're talking about? I hate the freeway. I think you probably share my belief right now after this experience tonight coming here. Any chance of getting some data from the Y or something in Tacoma so we can participate too? I probably would not make the drive unless I had to Seattle Cancer Care Alliance, and that's where my doctor is. So I figured that a necessity. I'd like to participate. I don't know I'm eligible. I'd like to consider participating. Can we do it other places and SCCA?
At this point, these things you can't. But again, that's one of my goals, is that we can then have a prescription that says you can go to your wall and get it done. These are the things that you need to do.
You need a protege down here.
There we go. Yeah. Because I agree, it's one of the biggest factors we have in recruiting for the active surveillance study is the burden of travel. And I mean, it's tough. And as you get closer to obviously right here in Tacoma or right in Seattle, it gets worse and worse.
Yeah.
Well, you have to understand our viewpoint. Tacoma is the center of the known universe, so we have a lot.
Yeah. It's that big zone, that's all you can.
Any other questions for Dr. Wright?
Yes, sir.
You mentioned the program of the Y. What was the name of that program you called?
You mentioned
Livestrong.
Livestrong. The Livestrong was associated, I think that was first done with Lance Armstrong and testis cancer, but it's since grown to most cancers. So, and so I think that's something, there are, you can go and get, again, general recommendations from everything, certainly Livestrong would have recommendations. You go to the Prostate Cancer Foundation, they put out a big paper several years ago about diet and prostate cancer, and they've actually had recommendations too. So, yes.
That says it all.
I'm sorry?
So that picture up there says it all.
It does. It
Fantastic.
does. And the other thing is just that, I mean, you guys know the same thing. 20 years ago, the size of our portions compared to now, it's just tremendous. You know, you go to Subway, I do the same thing. I don't need a foot-long sub. I end up ordering it. You know, I probably need a 6-inch sub, but we just do it. Or you go to, you know, I've been recently to a Cheesecake Factory, the size of a plate that I have. And I don't want to waste the food, so you eat it. So my wife actually got smaller bowls. We got rid of the big bowls and the big plates, started using smaller bowls and smaller plates.
That's a good idea.
You know, like you get on the golf courses now, there's lots of people, late 70s, 80s golfing, walking.
Yeah.
And 20 years ago, you wouldn't have seen that.
Well, you just got a lot of leftovers.
Look,
Jazz it up.
And there you go.
is there anything else?
Cancer's low sugar.
Yeah.
Cutting out all the sugar you can possibly cut out.
That's impossible. But yeah, but then again, and we're gonna all cheat, you know. I got a little slice of cake last night. Nothing wrong with that. You know, so from time to time. But cancer cells actually eat up a lot more sugar cells than our normal cells do. The way that their metabolism works, a cancer cell, they actually use a different pathway commonly, so they require a lot more sugar to really soak it up. So I think, and that's where if you can limit some of your simple sugars is important. But again, you gotta live a little bit too. So it's okay to have a maple bar from time to time. Just don't have it every single day. And the same as saying, a lot of people become vegan or strict vegetarians. And if that's for you, that's fantastic. It certainly is a very, very healthy way to live. But also, I like having a steak from time to time. You know, but I don't want to. I would recommend not eating steak 5 days a week. You know, I also recommend not overcooking it. If you like your steak really well done, there are pretty clear data that extra char on it has some bad nitrosamines that can be carcinogenic. So.
And there's probably an indication if you like it that way, you're from Texas.
That body's next 2 hours on the treadmill to work out that first day. Yeah. Yes.
Prostate cancer, I had it removed, and I got my first PSA, and it's not even no trace of it.
Great.
And what effect does that have on your body?
No PSA?
What does prostate cancer have done to my body?
Well, hopefully
Nothing?
nothing. Yeah.
Other than the cancer is gone, that's it.
Yeah.
It didn't affect my lungs,
No.
or my blood system, or my heart rate.
No. The only thing, what PSA does, the protein, is it helps to liquefy your semen, so your semen doesn't clump. So that's the role of PSA.
I was just wondering, because, I have smoked for 40 years.
Yeah,
I
that
quit
stays around.
smoking about 8 years ago.
Yeah, good for you. Best thing you did for
And
you.
it doesn't seem like my lungs get any better.
Yeah, it takes, the problem is it's hard to regenerate your lungs. And so what they look at with smoking cessation is that whereas a normal person's lungs are getting bad like this over time from the crap in the air, smokers decline like this. And if you stop smoking, your decline is somewhere in between. So although you may not be, seeing massive improvement, you reduce the rate of decline of your lungs.
I'd like to
And
ask
you
you,
reduce your risk of the cancers too.
I'd like to ask you about something you just said. The PSA does what to semen?
It liquefies it, helps to keep it liquidy, so that the sperm can swim their way up, and it comes, otherwise it clumps and can't go anywhere.
Very interesting, thank you.
Yeah.
You listen to the radio, you hear these advertisements,
men's health clinic, come in and get your
Oh, yeah.
testosterone test. For those of us with non-detectable PSAs, with low testosterone, is there a problem with getting testosterone supplementation after your prostate cancer episode?
So the first thing I'd say about testosterone supplements or testosterone injections, if you have a normal T, you don't need testosterone injections. Okay? So, and you should check your T before you start doing testosterone replacement. There was a huge study done, and you should have 2 checks of your testosterone, 2 morning testosterones on different days before you really get diagnosed with low T. And so there's variation from day to day to it. So actually, in this study that they did, the vast majority of people that came in thinking they were low T weren't low T and didn't qualify. So there are adverse effects to it. You just could be giving it willy-nilly. So, but if you do have a low T, documented low T, there are certainly benefits to your body bringing it up to normal. And if you have or have had prostate cancer, traditionally we say no way, no way. But the flip of that is that most people walking around with normal testosterone who have or have had prostate cancer, we don't make all of them go to 0 with their testosterone. So why can't we let people that are low come up to normal? And I think we have slowly changed that thinking over time. You will still hear a lot of doctors that say no way, but it's more and more well accepted, coming close to standard, that it is okay to raise it up to a normal level. I typically have patients of mine, I recommend we shoot for the lower range of normal, just because of the potential. And it's shortly after treatment. We usually like to say, let's stay without any evidence of disease after treatment for a while, several months, maybe a year, before we then go to a T replacement. The bigger issue is the patient on active surveillance, where we're saying that you bring it up. So all I would do is say, okay, let's bring it to normal. If you don't feel any different, get it off. So.
You said 2 morning tests. You talking about back to back or week space?
Not the same day. Not the same day.
Just not the same day, because it can be a little bit more
Yeah, you
expensive.
should be fasting first morning blood draw, so 8 a.m. drop your testosterone.
Okay, thanks.
We thank you so much for coming.
Yeah, great try.